Okay, well, hello, everybody. It's just a little after 11:30, so we're going to go ahead and kick this off. I am Lori Fort Harnick, and I have the absolute pleasure of serving as the president and CEO of Goodwill, the Olympics and Rainier region. And we are delighted to have you all with us today for this really important virtual community conversation on the importance of digital skills. I am going to just say a few words about our content and our speakers, and I'm going to turn it over to them. And I will begin with an acknowledgement of the land upon which our Goodwill operates and serves. As many of you know, our Goodwill operates and serves in 15 counties across our state. And that is very much on the traditional and ancestral lands of many American Indian tribes. We recognize that centuries of systemic oppression have dispossessed Indigenous people of their lands and their rights to self-determination. We recognize, respect, and give appreciation and gratitude to the people of these tribes who have stewarded these lands throughout the generations, despite the many injustices they faced and continue to face today. These tribes are the Chehalis tribe, the Cowlitz Indian tribe, the Lower Elwha Clallam tribe, the Hoh tribe, the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe, the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, the Nisqually Indian tribe, the Puyallup tribe of Indians, the Quillette tribe, the Quinault Indian Nation, the Skokomish Indian tribe, the Squaxin Island tribe, and the Yakima Nation. We are very fortunate to serve such a broad swath of our state, but that means we also must recognize and give respect and acknowledgement to those who were here before, who are still with us, still here today. So to kick this conversation off, I just want to say a few words. You know, we've all witnessed that the coronavirus pandemic has created really new depths of suffering for the most vulnerable people of our community. And now more than ever, we really need to help people rebuild their lives. For most people, the path forward is a job. And yet most jobs require technology skills that many people do not have. In fact, technology is embedded into the vast majority of all jobs across all industry sectors and is integrated in nearly all aspects of our lives.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Here in Washington, half of all occupations are likely to be automated in the future. This is particularly worrisome, of course, for the people who are in lower skilled, lower paying jobs, which are at the greatest risk of automation. Today, we're going to hear from 4 individuals, 2 entrepreneurs and 2 educators, who will give us their perspective on the challenges and the opportunities for the people of our community in today's tech-powered world. And then we'll have Goodwill's Senior Vice President of Workforce Development, Yawanda Egan's, facilitate a conversation with our speakers and with all of you. So we're going to hear from Marcus Cooper, who founded iHaul to help people and businesses with the last mile delivery of products and supplies by leveraging technology to bring us what we need most when we need it most. And we're going to hear from Laura Malcolm, who founded Give in Kind to help us help each other during the ups and downs of life in a way that's easy, efficient, and very impactful for the family and friends when they need us the most. Markiss and Laura are part of a new trend of business leaders who are creating opportunities for the people of our region through technology solutions. But the question is, does everyone have the skills to tap into those opportunities? And then we'll hear from 2 local educators who will share their views. Andrew Fry is Director of Industry Partnerships at UW-Tacoma. And he focuses on building partnerships between tech education and tech industry and promoting digital skills to help people thrive in all aspects of their life. Calvin Crawford is Goodwill's digital skills instructor, and he works day in and day out to help people learn the skills needed to compete for the growing number of local tech industry jobs. So we'll hear a bit from each Marcus, Laura, Andrew, and Calvin. Then Yawanda will facilitate some questions that she has for the panelists. And of course, we'll open it up to all of you. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to raise your hand in the box and we'll bring you into the conversation. Before we do, I'm going to turn it over first to Markiss. Markiss, if you would just say a few words about iHall and your perspective on digital skills in today's tech-powered world.
Yeah, thank you, Lori, and thank you everyone for joining in this afternoon. Again, my name is Markiss Cooper, the co-founder of iHall Delivery. We are a minority woman-owned third-party logistics service here in Tacoma that specializes in white glove delivery, final mile white glove delivery. We spoke earlier in some of our meetings the importance of the technology and how it should be a right to everyone, not just to certain individuals, and the impacts that it can have on individuals' lives as far as work-life balance and just kind of having ownership of and control of their destiny and not having in so much hands of other people. So this is a important conversation. It shaped the trajectory of our business, and being able to kind of take back our time and have control of our destiny. So we have a lot to share, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Markiss. Laura Malcolm, would you like to say a few words about Givenkind and your perspectives?
Hey, yeah, and echoing Markiss, thank you so much everyone for having me today. My name is Laura Malcolm. I am the founder and CEO of Givenkind. We're a platform for organizing support through good times and bad. So everything from somebody having a new baby to undergoing cancer treatment, losing a loved one, and are used by a lot of nonprofit organizations also to gather support online in different ways that might be available through more traditional fundraising platforms. I'm really excited to be growing Givenkind here in Tacoma, leveraging partnerships with Multicare, for example. I'm Tacoma native, and I'm really glad to be a part of this growing technology community here in Tacoma. I think one of the wonderful things we've seen is that many of our users are not tech first. We're building a platform for everyone. And so really excited to join the conversation about the ways that technology can enable so many really important parts of our life. And so why it's really essential that we help get everyone those skills to get online and moving forward and using technology in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And thank you, Markiss. It's so interesting to me to think about the fact that you both founded companies that are helping us with some of the things we recognize we need more than ever for the pandemic, getting supplies delivered, getting the products we need in our hands, and then helping people and helping each other. So it's great to see those technology solutions being born and raised here in Tacoma and in Pierce County. And it begs the question, one, as you said, do people have the skills to access those and leverage those solutions? And as you grow your businesses, are you finding the talent pool for people who can come and work with you in growing that work? So it's really, really interesting what's happening here in this community and the technology growth that we can all see and hopefully benefit from and help others benefit from through skills development and skills training. So to say a few words about that, Andrew Fry from UW-T.
Hello and welcome everyone. It's almost kind of a nightmare for me. I have so much to say and so little time to say it, so many great people to talk to. But I will tell you, I am the Director of Industry Partners and a lecturer at the School of Engineering and Technology at the UW Tacoma. I've been here for 20 some years. And during that time, I also started an escape room company. And I've been in about 60 theatrical productions. And way back in the mid 90s, I wrote one of the first books on using HTML to create websites through Time Warner Books. So I've been in touch with technology most of my life. I am a big fan and a big believer in it. And I will talk about stuff, but I just want to say I think digital literacy is an opportunity. I think technical innovation and emergence means business potential. And I think technology and data access should be a utility. And with those in mind, I will wait to talk a little later.
Thank you, Andrew. And I realized when I spoke of you as an educator, I didn't include the fact that you're an actor, an author, and an entrepreneur as well. So, very, very fortunate to have you here in our community leading this work. Okay, and Calvin Crawford, our very own digital skills instructor, say a few words about yourself and your perspective on what you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Calvin Crawford. I'm the digital skills instructor here at Goodwill. I've been here about almost 8 years now, helping people learn more about technology. I really love computers. I love teaching at the same time. And I just believe everybody should have technology and they should have internet at home, because without it, I mean, that affects the way that we communicate, the way we think, and the way that we learn. So with people not having technology, they're at a disadvantage. So I would like to somehow just get technology into everybody's hands. A lot of the students that I have, they use the library for technology, and you know, libraries they're closed sometimes, and those people work. So if they're wanting to apply for a job, they have to do it in the daytime. You can't, do it as soon as the job posts, and that's a disadvantage because now they might not get that position because of that. So technology is just so important to me. And I really hope that we can find a way to make sure everybody has access to it.
Thank you, Calvin. Calvin, really appreciate that. And what you do every single day with the folks in our programs. So thank you. All right, and I'm now going to turn to Yolanda Egan's. She is our Senior Vice President of Workforce Development here at Goodwill. She's been with us about almost 3 years now and is just doing phenomenal things with our team and the people that we teach and serve every day. She oversees all of our free job training programs and services in the community. And so, Yolanda, if you would like to say a word or two about yourself and then go straight into the Q&A that you've prepared.
Thank you, Lori, and welcome everyone to our discussion this morning about the importance of technology and digital skills. As Calvin said, we all know that this is very, very, very important for people just to be able to live their lives. And while we saw this emerging prior to COVID, COVID has put into sharp relief the big gaps that exist, and the reality that many of those gaps are in rural communities and communities of color that find themselves furthest from the opportunity that they need to be able to thrive in life. And so as we have this discussion today, just being able to provide even more insight as we talk with our speakers about what their experience has been as we look at how they are serving in our community. So I'm actually going to start off, I'm going to go back to Markiss. So Markiss, in today's gig economy, we find that more people are becoming entrepreneurs. Can you tell us about how your journey in entrepreneurship highlighted for you the importance of being able to use technology?
Yeah, thanks. The building foundations of our company were always to be people-centric, not only in the customer, but the people we recruit. Just giving them the ability to not only determine when they want to work, how they want to work, how much they want to make, has been essential to our entire foundation and our recruiting process. Just giving our not only our clients, but our people the ability to move as they want to, being just that workout home parents, being able to be there for their children. It's been essential to everything that we've built. When we founded this, I worked with other rideshare companies, and working a 9 to 5 and doing this at the same time gave me the ability to work on the weekends, kind of, earn more income after work and before work, which essentially led me to leaving the 9 to 5 because of the freeness of being able to work in a freelance economy. So it's been huge. It's been a huge part of our growth, and it's going to continue to be the main piece to our growth process.
Thank you very much, Marcus. And now we're going to go to Laura. How did you learn about technology and gain the skills you needed to build your business?
Ooh, great question. And we had some fun nostalgia talking about how many of us developed our affinity for technology early on before it was in everybody's hands as it is today. You had to seek it out a little bit more. And so I think that, I didn't grow up with technology in the palm of my hand the way that many kids do today. And so my exposure we were very fortunate to have technology in my home from a young age. My father was very into technology all the way back into programming handheld computers as he was running tugboats up the Alaska coast, and brought those home to show us, the power of technology, even when you're far, far away. And so my career was an unexpected one, in that my degree from University of Washington is in psychology, and we still we were still taking notebooks to class, no laptop computers for students then. And so I made a transition into technology as an adult, in having that be my career. And my background is in something called product management. So it's really thinking about the ways that people interact with technology behaviorally, right? What drives us to technology? How do we think about a website that we get to? And so I'm a big believer that those non-traditional paths into technology is so broad today, right? You don't have to be a computer programmer to work in technology. There are an incredible amount of roles, from the graphic designers to the copywriters to the IT people with the servers, right? There's so many different ways that you can have a role in technology. And so I think that as we shape how we think about all those different skills leading into a career in technology, that's going to be a really important part of enabling, another generation of technology workforce.
Thank you, Laura. And so as a follow-up to that, I have a question for Andrew. So Andrew, what are you learning from your students on how fast technology is changing and the need to be able to understand technology as it evolves? And then, knowing you also have a connection to business, how does that also tie in? What are you hearing from businesses about that as well?
Well, thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. It calls to two things that are pretty important to me. I also got a psych degree from the University of Washington. And then I went on and I got an applied science degree in computing and software development. So I supplemented it with another program. And I'm a lifelong learner. And I believe that that's part of what we need to do. But I've been through many different technological revolutions. There have been so many. I was very lucky to be in very early with the World Wide Web. I exited Microsoft, where I'd been for 5 years, to start understanding more about what the World Wide Web was. The first HTML specification came out and so on. So what I did was, when I actually came to the university, I decided to start a class called Living and Working in a Virtual World, which was to explain to my students, this is the underpinning of what the newest technological revolution is in the World Wide Web and how it works. Well, it wasn't 5 years of doing that before the students started telling me things about the technological revolution and where it was going, and new things, and mobile applications, and different apps to explore. And so I had to turn my class around. And so every time I taught it, every student in that class was required to come to class with at least one technology emergence that I hadn't heard of, and explain it to the whole class, because it was the only way to keep up with all of the changes. So whether it's the web revolution, or whether it's the recent cloud revolution, or whether it's distributed computing, or the Internet of Things, or everything else going on, it's a constant discussion. And I think the discussion starts with the digital literacy, the very basics. And I think that you can get there without having it to be so so minute that you need to have a computer engineering or computer science degree in order to understand it, because we work with two things. We work with systems and we work with apps. And many of the things that are on the application side, we've created easier ways to work with them. And that's where we get our toe in the water and we start to develop our understanding. And we have to be open to it because it's changing all the time. That's why over the years, honestly, the students have become my instructor. Don't tell anyone, because I'm getting paid to teach them, but I have been benefiting from them for years and years now. And as far as business goes, that's what I mean when we see something happen on the research front. If we see something coming out where people are starting to discover new things, whether it's blockchain and now we have cryptocurrencies, or again, cloud computing, and now we are able to do business just by having an account and spinning up all of the computational needs. All of that stuff that's going on is important to businesses. And I look at Givenkind and I look at the U-Haul folks, and they took technology and they gave people an opportunity to do something they couldn't do before because they used it creatively to begin and build a business around it. So I just, stay fascinated and stay open to change. And try to take the fear out of it for everyone that you know, because there's nothing to be afraid of. It's all something that if someone is explaining it to you and they're making it too complicated, that's a power move. That's not helpful. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And actually, it's a good segue to the question for Calvin. And so, Calvin, what are you hearing from your students about their experience with technology and their challenges and successes?
One thing that I'm hearing is they're using their cell phones in order to access, the internet and other software. And the cell phone just doesn't do the same as a laptop or a desktop would do. And then those same people, they don't have internet in the home, they just have internet on the phone. So that becomes a real challenge, trying to do everything on a cell phone. Like Word and Excel, you can't download, documents, you can't download spreadsheets to an Android if you have one. So a lot of jobs may communicate with those types of documents and you can't access them. A lot of people are using the libraries, but the libraries are only open from certain times and they work during the daytime. So they're finding it challenging to, get that application in when they needed to get it in. By the time they got it in, you got 50 other applicants and, somebody's already probably selected. So it's creating a disadvantage for some people. And when they come into class, because they're using a cell phone or because they don't have technology at home and cannot practice using it, when they come in, everything just seems new. You're introducing the cloud to them and explaining everything to them. And yeah, they're playing catch up. And I just feel like everybody, people who use technology like me, we regularly have it, on hand. So we may not think about it like that, but there are a lot of people out there that do not have, laptops, computer, probably never even owned one. So just making it more affordable and more accessible would help a lot of people and help a lot of families out there. So.
Thank you, Calvin. So let's switch gears a little bit. I'm going to go back to Laura and ask about technology as a part of everyday life and about some of the stories that you've heard from people on your platform around how the technology that you use, the ability to be able to connect people through that platform is really changing their lives.
Yeah, it's such an honor to get to work in such an impactful company and build something that does have an impact on people's lives through, as I said, really good moments and really difficult moments, families here in our community. It's been interesting when we think about the technology. So when we started Givenkind, and if you've ever been a part of a meal train for your church, maybe, or given to a GoFundMe, you can sort of imagine what it's like to participate in a Givenkind page. And you get a link shared on social media, and then you want to go and you want to see how you can help. And pre-pandemic, of course, some of those options were in person. We hope that we can bring back some of that ease of participating as a community, the things that we miss from having our neighbors right there, and make it easy to say, I'm going to drop off dinner for you on Tuesday because your mother is sick. But in the pandemic, of course, we were, as we all know, so cut off from all of that in-person support. And so a lot of people really appreciated that through Give in Kind, you could access digital gift cards. You could send them really quickly. So all of a sudden it became, well, I'm sending you a gift card for DoorDash or for Instacart or for any of these tools. And that's wonderful if you have access to those apps and know how to use them. And when I think about the older folks, or the ones who didn't have access to that technology, how technology did not, we didn't enable in that way. And so this is takeaways that I am taking from this conversation about how we think about the way that we approach our platform. But for many people, and going through those challenges, the ability to share what we need, and whether you're a person, you're a family, you're an organization, that wants to share your wish list or your volunteers and the ways that people can help and share those updates out. It's a really powerful tool that they haven't seen before. And so I love seeing check-in pages, for someone in the community, and they can create a slot every day to say, we need you to call this neighbor and check in on them because their partner just passed away or something like that. And that's really bringing back that social connection that I think that we're really missing, and we miss as some of those social networks get bigger. And so I could talk all day about the powerful stories of Give in Kind helping people through sickness and health. It's really just, as I said, it's an honor and amazing to see.
Thank you very much, Laura, for that, and for giving us the additional insight about some of the challenges that you're still working through about how the platform can reach everyone that needs that community. And so, Markiss, I'm actually going to go back to you as we think about community, just thinking about the customers or your stakeholders, those that you are connecting through your platform, and the communities that they're in and their needs, and how your business is assisting with that. So can you tell us about what you've learned about how your customers are able to interact with your technology in order to also be able to accomplish their needs in their lives?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece for us, since we do work with such a broad range of people, primarily our elders, right? They don't have they're not very technologically sound. So just being able to do the payment processing systems and that sort of thing. But since we are still so small, we can still have those small conversations and walk them through those small steps. Unlike an Amazon, right? You have to go through a few channels to get the real simplistic customer experience. So just really trying to simplify things for individuals that again, that aren't too familiar with how to use the app, because the majority of our process is done through an app, which makes it easier for us as we grow. But there's still a gap for individuals that aren't caught up to date with those processes. So for us, it's just trying to simplify it. Has been our biggest thing. But through that, our elders have been very happy with our service, because we are able to have those small conversations, and they get those GPS alerts or the reminders that the delivery is going to be arriving at said day, said time, which is important. So we're still growing and still learning how to tweak things, especially like I said with that payment processing thing, because it's all online. So it's a process, but I would say it's we do more good to catering to the needs than the bad. So we've got all 5 stars right now. So there hasn't been too many issues.
All right, thank you very much, Marcus. I'm going to jump over to Calvin. We're talking about community now, right, and the importance of community. So as you think about the community of students that come into your classes, what have you found most helpful for them in being able to learn about the importance of technology and how to use it and how community can really play a role in that?
One of the most helpful things that I found, especially in the middle of the pandemic, was Zoom, Teams, all the online chats that we can do. It helped me connect with people and be able to share my screen with them and show them how to access certain websites or how to control technology as far as their mics or something like that may go. So yeah, I would say that the online communication has really helped a lot. And it's also great to be able to share, my screen with people to show them different things that they can do on their computer that they may not have known that they can do. And yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, Calvin. And we're going to move to Andrew. So Andrew, you've been involved in diverse communities with your background, everything from video production to software programming. You have a psych degree, you're a college instructor. And so as you look at all of those communities and all those opportunities you've had in your background, how has technology played a role there?
Well, first, I want to acknowledge that I called Markiss's company U-Haul, which would have been pretty cool for you, but it's I-Haul. Okay, now to answer your question, technology's always been something that I have embraced from when I was a little kid. But when I was a little kid, we didn't have technology either. My parents were disabled, and I grew up in a situation where I had to basically, when I was 18, find my way to school and so on. But the technology side of it was always a part. And I used to always think of science fiction as a future predictor. And I would watch the original Star Trek series and go, what? They've got these little flip things that I can talk to someone on the other side of the planet? I don't think so. And so on. But, you have that love for the potential, for what could be. And so even with the acting, I get my casting notices through notifications. We do daily updates through messaging. But I want to talk on the education front, and that is the technology has become such an important part of the classroom, and it is such a big economic driver. And we need to recognize that love of technology, interest in what it can do, and the potential, whether it's science fiction or fact, it should be embraced as, again, something that everyone can think about and do, which means we have to have the availability for it as well. And what someone had mentioned in terms of the idea of COVID pointing out where the lack of access existed. Oh my word, in the classroom, it was easy to say, why isn't that student here? Or why isn't that student showing their video? Well, it's pretty hard if they have to park outside of a public library to catch the necessary Wi-Fi capability to connect. So as far as a business opportunity and growing up with my life, I was going to be in television. And then I decided I wanted to start a video production company. That's technology. It was an advantage to me because everyone had VHS and Betamax players, but no one had cameras. So took the cameras and created products around that. And just from the standpoint of the South Sound and technology, where I really see us getting much more sound in regards to an economic area, is the number of great schools that are teaching us on the technology front, the programs that you have, and with Goodwill. Back when I started 21 years ago, there were 60 students in a computing software and systems program here. We'll have over 1,000 juniors, seniors, graduates, and PhDs in computer science, computer engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, possibly financial engineering. It's all happening, and then it all bubbles up from everywhere. people getting interested, then saying, I'd like to know more, and then getting whatever certificate they might get or whatever degree. And I think the workplace should pay more for education, because more technologically savvy workers means a stronger workforce within your own company as well. So now I'm, getting a little evangelical in terms of technology, but I am. I think it is right now, it is a great divider. We see it through salaries. We see it through access. And we need to figure out ways in which we can close that gap as best as we can. So, I saw us transformational early on. People who are place bound or economically bound being able to come here and get their degree programs. Single moms who at one point in time were sort of gig working to get their degree, and now are senior software developers in the state of Washington or at Boeing or at Microsoft, and so on. So, I see that as being a critical impact and should happen lifelong.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to go back to Marcus with this next question. And really, it's just wondering about your journey and what technology assistance did you find helpful or would have been helpful to you as you were working on your business?
Honestly, more programs like the Goodwill, what you guys are doing, and what Calvin is doing, is really just walking people through how to just use the different types of softwares, or even just how to even really use the smartphones. I'm a YouTube University graduate, thank God for that. It helped me navigate, different ways to implement our business and, try to be top tier with the bigger businesses, because I've found that a lot of the bigger corporations are a little outdated with their technologies, right? They're so consumer based, right? They're not really thinking about their infrastructure and the longevity of it all. And I think COVID kind of exposed a lot of those things and made them become more focused on technology and really serving their people. So really, services like what Calvin's doing, if I would have known something like that, he could have held my hand through certain things, and not necessarily learn how to program, develop, but just learning, small steps of how to market the business and those sort of steps. So kudos to Goodwill, kudos to Calvin. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And maybe I can come sit in on one of those classes too and still get some help. So Andrew as well.
Thank you, Marcus. And let's see, let's go back to Laura. And what advice would you give to others who want to build their business and want to know what it takes if it's technology based and they don't think they have the skills? What would you advise them?
Yeah, I think I'm going to double down a bit on what I said earlier in terms of all of the different pieces that go into a role in being a part of technology. Your art class can lend to your career in technology, your math class, statistics, writing, right? Everything that we do throughout our education can contribute to being a part of technology. And so I think that we need to know how to use technology, but I think that there's this real thought that like, I want to go and be a software developer. And if my brain doesn't work that way, then, or I don't have the skills or the training, that I'm blocked from going and getting one of these aspirational careers in technology. What we are going to find, and what we are already finding, is that every business here in Tacoma and across the world is powered by technology. So if you can come up with that skill, if you like doing art I keep coming back to that. My husband is a graphic designer, didn't go to college and ended up creating ads for Apple for 5 years. That just because he was self-taught and he worked and he went and he found a little print shop that needed some marketing support, and then he was doing design for them, and that was 25 years ago. You can create this future for yourself by taking those passions and trying to figure out, well, where can I be a part of what is happening today using the skills that I have? And I think that it's really important for us to expand beyond you need to become a computer programmer, you need a computer science degree. Let's look at all the different ways that technology is powering all of the businesses around us and taking the thing that we're really good at and honing that. And so I think that if we can all expose what more of those roles are in technology at our businesses, in our community, and invite more people to develop those skills and learn what role they play in powering our community, then I think we'll all be much better off for it.
Thank you, Laura. So Calvin, and going back to you, I've heard you say that internet should be a right and not a privilege. We've heard some themes of that through the other speakers as well today. So wondering if you can explain that to us. And then also just adding on to that, what you're hearing from your students about that as you think about your answer to that, because I know you have such a close connection to those that you're teaching about what they're experiencing. So what would you say about it being a privilege, and what are you hearing from them?
So I said that because like the professor said, it should be a utility. It should be included with water, sewage, garbage, internet. We can just add, I see Comcast and CenturyLink and other companies, they're giving essential packages where you get enough internet just to, do your daily business work. You can YouTube, anything like that. So you can do the self-learning and all. And I just think it should be a part of the utilities. Just 5 megabytes or so of internet and you're fine. And then people who get devices from other organizations, they get loaners, they can plug those in and use them at home. They don't have to worry about, finding internet or anything like that. I really don't understand why it already hasn't been done, because it's so important, especially with the pandemic. So many people, the banks, my grandmother, the bank was closed. She couldn't get to the bank to, take out money or pay a house payment. Her house payment was late because of that, because she didn't know how to do it on the cell phone. So I just think it's just unfair that, those who have money can afford, the Comcast, which is like $100 a month, and people who are working as hard as they can to take care of their family that have to use that internet, they can't afford to pay that, and there's no other option for them. Even with Comcast Essentials or one of those businesses, you have to pass a credit check or something to get that internet. I mean, there's just so many hurdles to access for information and technology. And like I said, it should just be a right. And I did bring that up to a few people, just saying, would that help them at home? And yes, that definitely would, because paying those bills, like I said, it's another bill, but it's so essential, especially with kids. If you have kids and they're in the pandemic and you had to stay home, you didn't have internet. I mean, the school was supplying laptops, but they weren't supplying internet. So a lot of kids were at a disadvantage. I mean, this whole pandemic, I hope everybody takes a look at it and sees that we really need to work on how we take care of each other. And I think technology in everybody's hands would really help everyone. So.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Calvin. So we have our last question for Andrew. I'm just going to continue it from what Calvin was saying before we open it up for Q&A. And so, as we've thought about our discussion so far, this now late morning and afternoon, we've talked a lot about the essential nature of having connectivity and having devices to connect with, how phones are not enough to be able to really be able to connect in the way the community needs to. And so my question for you, Andrew, is just with you're looking at your diverse background, being in education now, working with businesses now. What do you see as the biggest challenges for technology not being as accessible as it should be in communities, as we've been talking about today? What have you seen? What have you heard as you've been operating in those different arenas?
I think probably the greatest hurdle is the actual shifting nature of technology. The fact that technology itself is so different from one year to the next to the year after. So if we think about where I consider there to be some pretty amazing, initiatives, I'm gonna harken back to some place where probably some people online don't even remember it, but America's most wired city, the investment that the city put into the original Click network. And if you think back about when Tacoma did that, it's because we were being ignored and people weren't being served. My company was up in Seattle, and we worked with, I think at the time it might have been TCI cable, or it could have been, I think that's what it was. The fact is, everyone was laying down this fiber optic cable because that was the big technology, and that's what helped businesses and gave you access, was this physical cable. And Tacoma could not get any cable company interested in putting it down here. And when Tacoma asked for it, they said, well, sure, as soon as we're done with Seattle, oh yeah, and then we're gonna go over to Bellevue. Oh yeah, and then Redmond. And I think it was when they said, oh, but we gotta do Spokane, that Tacoma may have said, enough is enough. We are the city of destiny, let's control it. And they put out a really big initiative to lay down that fiber optic. So obviously we can look to today and say, is that how we get our internet? Well, we get it through wireless and we get it through different services. But what it comes down to is it was an initiative. It was realized that this is something that had to be done, but also recognize that technology shifts and changes. I know in terms of the distribution of laptops, I will tell you one of my favorite pieces of or my device that I owned. It's a Chromebook. And I bought it refurbished for less than $200. And it is my main means by which I connect and write and submit and do all things, because it's simple. And again, it's more than the phone. You can't do it all on the phone, but it still has a cost. And we have to figure out how we are going to try to create this equality in a shifting technological environment at a price point and cost that at least gives a workable, ready technology solution for everyone that they can build off of. There needs to be a baseline, and we need to, and so you ask, what's the biggest hurdle? Knowing what that baseline is going to be 3 years from now. To me, that would probably be the biggest hurdle.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for answering all of those questions. They actually weave together really well, just all of your different experiences, understanding the impact on community, wanting the ability to be able to really serve and help us to be able to get to a different place around technology is a really important piece. And it takes community members like everyone on this call to make this kind of important change happen. So now we'll be going on to Q&A. Lori, did you want for me to move into that, or did you have something else you wanted to wrap with before we went there?
Yeah, let's absolutely open it up for questions from folks on the line, and we've got a lot of great comments as well. People jumping in with good information and good insight. I would just say one thing, which is just listening to everyone, to the speakers. Technology is ever changing, as Andrew said. Who knows where it's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, except one thing we do know, we're going to be increasingly reliant upon it for our work and for our daily lives. And so, when you think about someone who has, I'll just pick on Andrew for a moment, a college instructor, your vast experience, yet you're still keeping up with change of technology, right? It's hard to keep up when you've got that full education and that full background. Think about the people that Goodwill serves. The people that we're serving most often don't have a vast amount of education, or they don't have the means to even find a $200 Chromebook. So if you think about how difficult it is for all of us who may have the means to keep up, imagine what it's like for those who don't have that, and who are coming into Calvin's classes, and they're at the very beginning. And so how do we, at Goodwill and other organizations throughout the community, how do we all help the people of our community access what they need so they can live their lives fully, so they can access the resources, the information, the education, the job opportunities, so they can succeed in those jobs and really build careers like Laura described, or find new opportunities to create technology that changes others' lives like Markiss described. It's really a vast array of challenges and opportunities for all of us. So this has been a really interesting conversation. I'm really looking forward to hearing what others have to say who are on the line. So let's open it up. I'll go ahead, and if you have something you'd like to say, raise your hand or just speak up. And if you raise your hand, I'll make sure to call on you. Lawanda Lambert, first hand up.
I would just like to say thank you for all the presenters, because it's so true. You know, I'm in school learning about gig economies and how digital technology is so important. And I see that in family members, as Marcus said, you know, my aunt, you know, when she's sick, she can't order food because she doesn't know how to work the app, and she can't speak to the TV to tell her when her bill is due. So I think it's very, very important. And it's like having a glass of water. The air you breathe is something that we're faced with COVID now. And it's a reality that we need to incorporate in our daily lives and educate ourselves. So I just wanted to give each of the presenters a thank you, because it is something very, very important that we need to help others and educate in our community.
Thank you, Lawanda. That's really a great reinforcement. I see James Smith has his hand up. James?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank each one of you guys for putting this on. It's so very important. My name is James Smith. I'm the co-founder and CEO of No Gap. We are an early stage tech startup, and we offer a web-based platform that helps companies and individuals, specifically in the BIPOC community, to develop high-value job skills, such as tech skills, digital skills, cybersecurity skills, and soft skills. And my question is to Andrew, and I kind of wrote it down here. And I believe, Andrew, you said a part of your role is with industry relations. And so my question is, as individuals learn new skills, have you seen industry being open and intentionally establishing entry-level jobs for individuals with, let's say, micro credentials that come with mentorships that help them to lead to growth, promotion, and higher paying careers?
Thank you, James. I have seen years where we have done over 235 internships in the course of a single year, and a wide variety of skill sets that are needed coming in that help them get started. I'm cognizant in some ways of gaps in the workforce, of opportunities for folks that need to be addressed. But you know, from where I'm at with the School of Engineering and Technology, there is sort of these internships that come in, which are sort of the tech support side. It might be in information technology, IT, ticket taking, solving problems, that sort of thing. And that's needed everywhere. And then all the way up to some internships that require a much deeper understanding of a particular research area of technology. And that's where you've got folks who have that specialty that may have dug deep into, quantum computing, which does not necessarily exist yet, but they're still digging into it, sort of thing. But I want everyone in the area to understand that there is this opportunity, if you have a need, to do internships, and not just here, in high schools, right? In all of our educational institutions that can possibly bring people on. And I get contacted by industry all the time when they're looking for particular positions in one form or another. And I like to see more of it come through. I think that what I like to do is I try to create awareness so that if there are problems that need to be solved, or opportunities for student experience that could lead to jobs and job growth, I want to hear about it. And I like to do that direction. I'm not career services here at the UW, but I have 2 office hours every week in which students are welcome in and they show me their resumes. And I ask them, where are the top 10 places they want to work? And what do they want to do with their lives? Because they'll be able to go and make that impact. And then and then they go through. Is there anything specific in particular? Because I feel like I'm just sort of letting you know that I'm open to listen to pathways for students to get experience, but was there more to it?
I thought I had heard at the beginning that you did industry, I guess, collaboration. And,
Yes.
and I was just wanting, I was just interested in perhaps collaborating with you to, as our platform helps individuals develop these skills, is very important, not only that they have those skills, but then they're matched with companies that, so they can get a job.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, the bottom line is for them to get a job and close the racial wealth gap and increase their quality of life. So I would love to chat with you.
I look forward to hearing from you.
And see if we can get a bunch of companies together and see exactly what their needs are so we can match these skills. So
you bet. I'm also on the EDB's the committee for the recruitment and retention of tech into the South Sound. I would love to hear more about your company. Let's set up a time. I'm a big fan of face-to-face and coffee. Hopefully COVID has killed me. And well, it's been ridiculous. I like talking to people. So yeah, andfry@uw.edu. Let's get together and I'll talk.
You can share your info in the chat. Thank you. That's a great opportunity for connection there. I see Bill Dickens has his hand up. So Bill, hi, how are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I have a question for several individuals who have touted the idea about technology as a public utility. I've worked as an economist for over 30 years, much of that in the pricing of public utility services, electricity, natural gas, water. So I'm kind of curious in terms of how you're using this phrase about technology as a public utility. Are you suggesting that the technology should be priced free, pro bono for customers? Because none of the public utilities that I know of, none provide these services free of charge. So I just need to have clarification about your use of public utility and how it can address this issue about the digital divide. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thanks, Bill.
Oh no, I think like we pay for our gas, we pay for our water, we pay for our electricity, but it's also at a price point that I think is affordable, or we can at least distribute the opportunity to use it in an affordable fashion. To me, it is a public concerted effort to drive, again, the necessary pieces out to the South Sound and the public.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. And there's some comments in the chat as well. Calvin, did you have your hand up?
Yes. So yeah, I believe it should be a charge on it, but I just don't think it should be as expensive as some of these companies make it. I think CenturyLink, Comcast, and there's Cox. There's all kind of other companies. They just charge a lot of money for internet that the average person may not even need. You might not even use that much. It's like 100 megabytes per second or so, just for navigating the internet. for just a person trying to apply for jobs or learn something on YouTube, I mean, all they would need is 5 to 10 megabytes per second as far as downloading and uploading. I wouldn't give them, you know, I wouldn't wire the houses with the best internet service, just enough to get them by. And I think that a extra $5 or maybe even $10 on the bill wouldn't be that much, and they would have access to that internet. I mean, I guess you can opt out. For one, if you don't want to use the internet, you can opt out, or if you want better internet, you can opt out. But I just think it should be wired in, just like the water, the lights and the gas and everything else is wired in. We already have the infrastructure wired in through Comcast and other places. We just need the utility place to tap into it and let everybody have, you know, a certain amount of internet just so they can, you know, do the things they need to do. Because like I said, that's the way we learn, communicate, think, is through the internet. A lot of these people on this phone call, they have built businesses out of self-learning online. So there's people sitting out there right now with no internet watching, flicking through the TV. I mean, they can be learning something online just by stumbling upon something. I don't think it should be, I don't even think it should be an argument. This country has enough money where we can afford to give everybody just a tiny bit of internet, I think. We're just too top heavy here, where everything has to have such a big old price on it. It's just not necessary. There's so many poor people out here that if they had access to that internet and technology, maybe they wouldn't be so poor because they can learn something or apply for that job or, you know, participate in school or whatever online.
This is it. Thank you so much, Calvin. It's really a great discussion around access and affordability and how we reach people and help them access what we all need every day. And it looks like Devin Rydell Kelly has his hand up. So go to Devin now.
Yeah, and this is kind of a comment on the last conversation, so I'll try not to keep it going too long because I would like to keep space open for Q&A. But just a couple points in this. I had the privilege of doing a lot of work on this precise problem in the last couple of years, as kind of noticed by the slide deck that I shared in the chat. And just a few things around it. I think that the public utility question is a really, really important one. I apologize, the light's coming in from my office window here. We found that the big private providers did a really poor job of addressing equity issues under COVID for a wide variety of reasons, mostly because of market concerns. And I love everything Calvin just said, but I want to add a couple things. Actually, there's this weird gap where the lowest service that especially Comcast would provide was cheap, but radically, like woefully insufficient for meeting family needs. And that their better services were way, way more money. And what we did is we had an actual high touch, case-driven system of helping families get access to Rainer Connect and Comcast and a couple other providers. And it was still extremely difficult to get through kind of the corporate hurdles to address things around outstanding balances. The providers forced OSPI in the state program to create a benefits cliff and to also only make them eligible if they lost their internet out after August of 2020. There were just all these massive, massive hurdles, ultimately because the providers wanted to protect their profits. And it created significant access and equity issues, even getting onto the system. So I do think there's really important questions to be addressed here about how we consider this. And this is ultimately a question of market failure. Like it's some of these things, it's just not profitable to do. And I'd add, and I think this is very important, this is public infrastructure. It was built originally as public infrastructure that's basically just a giveaway to some of the world's most powerful corporations. Folks here on this call that know me know this is how I go, but I'm not going to take up too much more time. I just think the other thing is there's this really important point about structures and cultures around this stuff. And there's a lot of really great decision makers and thinkers in this call, so I'm just going to highlight this for 1 second, right? A lot of what happens in Washington nonprofit work and social justice politics is kind of tinkering around and coming to fixes with these underlying problems rather than addressing the underlying problem themselves. And all the tinkering we do, I think, kind of makes things more complex and ends up adding hurdles to people with the greatest need. So the question becomes, what are the structural constraints that need to be changed? And how do we get information to people as quickly and easily and as straightforward as possible about the basic structure, right? rather than making it really overly complex. And I think that's a key point that I really appreciate of everything that everyone said. Anyway, I apologize for taking up so much space here. This has been a very insightful, really great conversation, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Devin. And thank you for all the good discussion. You know, one of the things that I feel very positive about is the fact that our state is investing in greater digital equity and access. I think we may have on the call today one of our friends from the Washington State Department of Commerce, the Digital Equity Office. There is a recognition of the need for greater access to the internet, to devices, to helping people learn how to navigate the internet and access the resources they need. We have the great honor at Goodwill of receiving a grant to help our residents across the state with their digital navigation needs. And that's because the state is investing in that. And there's a bill right now in Olympia to create policy that would establish ongoing support in this area of digital access, equity, navigation, training, services. So I am encouraged. And, you know, of course, we all know that this state, we've born a lot of technology companies here, and that's wonderful. And so it's really good to recognize that not everybody is accessing the opportunities as they can and as they should. And so what more can we all do, whether it's at the government level, whether it's at the community organization level, whether it's at the business level? How do we work together to really bring about the changes that we would like to see in that greater access? And I'll just say from the Goodwill perspective, you know, we are very committed to this. The reason we are holding these conversations is because we do recognize that not everyone is getting what they need. And if we're going to fulfill our vision, that every person has the opportunity to learn, work, and thrive in all aspects of their life, guess what? Technology is a critical ingredient to that. So we've made a commitment over the next number of years to power up Goodwill, power up the community by really focusing on free job training programs and services based in technology. That means technology skills training specifically at the fundamental level, at the intermediate level, at the advanced level, and not only the training, but also access to devices, access to internet. So we're really looking forward to how do we help people really prepare for the jobs and the careers that every single one. It doesn't matter what job you're asked to do, you've got to learn to work with technology. The last thing we want is for people to feel displaced by technology. I mean, the evolution just continues fast and furious, and to help people not only keep up, but truly thrive with technology as a tool in their lives, that's what we see as critically important. And so we've got this Power Up initiative to really focus on bringing this to life and working with people on this phone call, you know, other community service providers, government teams, businesses. We all have a stake in this. We all have a stake in it, and I'm really encouraged by this conversation. I'm going to just see if there's anyone who has any last questions or comments before we wrap. Calvin.
Sorry. I just want to say, very proud of being here at Goodwill, that the initiatives that we take, the things that we do, I wish that, you know, more of the country or more of the state would take these things on. Like you said, we do have devices, but we have a limited number, and those are going to go pretty quick because a lot of people in the community don't have them. So the handful that we have is very, very helpful. We are trying to provide the internet and everything. I see all of that coming, but to expand this out across the state and then across, you know, the West Coast and then across the US would be even better. Just the things that we do here, I'm so proud of it. So thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Absolutely. Bruce Kendall.
Hey, Lori, and all the panelists, just terrific. I've learned so much, and the Q&A has been great. So a compelling challenge maybe of our lifetime, which is technology is moving so fast, as everyone has talked about, and now we're trying to catch up to it. And so if you, the way we've broken it down is there are two big policy areas. One is making sure that broadband is even available, as Calvin was talking about, to people's homes. However that gets done, that's a huge policy undertaking and a commitment that has to be made. The state has, and Laura, you talked a little bit about it, begun making efforts in that direction. There's legislation has been passed that the commitments there. Now it's figuring out, that is, that the state will get broadband to every residence. But how do we get there? We're working with all the various utilities, the private sector, et cetera. Huge, complicated question to get answered, but we've got to answer it. And so there's a lobbying issue. Every time the legislature is in session, they decide to spend money on a lot of things. Even during this short session, they're spending money on a lot of things. The state has a massive surplus, as you all know, and getting more and more money from the feds all the time, it seems. So there's a policy piece to this that's absolutely essential at that level. And then there's this whole question, which I know less about than the former, which is how to get devices into people's hands so they can use the broadband that ultimately will be available to them. And so that's my question. Is anybody in the on this Zoom know of programs that are in place outside of what the school districts do, which is tremendous, that gets devices, to Calvin's point also, laptops and or desktops into the hands of people that right now are only operating with a perhaps with a smartphone. So is there anything out there that's doing that? Any programs that are doing that?
Yeah, I'll jump in for just a minute, Bruce. I mean, the digital navigation grant that I mentioned from the state, the Commerce Department, that includes device distribution. So there is funding going toward that. Did you want to add to that?
Thanks, Lori. And I see Mark, our contact in the broadband office, on the call as well. I was just going to add to that. And Bruce, thank you very much for that question. So the grant that we have from Department of Commerce Broadband Office has a couple of different components. One is device gifting, giving away devices, then training people how to use those devices. And then also we have a hotline so that anyone across the state can call and get support for how to use devices, access the internet, that ongoing support. Having the device isn't enough, having the internet isn't enough, you know how to use it. And to be, as we've talked about today, again, this is reinforcing what's really important. And so that grant that we have does allow for us, and there are others in the state that also received the grant as well, to be able to provide that kind of support.
I need to go upstairs.
Okay.
Send that off up there.
Andrew, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention one thing. Coming up in this next quarter, we have a class called Managing Technical Teams, and there are 3 cohort groups, and they're probably going to be somewhere around 15 or 16 teams. And what they do is we do things with small business, with nonprofits, with folks out there, where these students have to take on a project and complete it in the course of the quarter. And we've had them work with folks for areas where there was technical availability, helping to create more labs. We've had students go out to elderly communities to do teaching. So we were talking earlier about not knowing what, someone had mentioned that their students were trying to figure out how to use a mouse. Well, our students have gone out and taught folks at places like Frank Toby Jones, that sort of thing, about passwords and about keyboards, and provide the other things. Small businesses, help them build out their social network platform or maybe a website for them. So I'm just throwing that out there. If there are any small businesses, nonprofits, anything out there, no guarantees, but if you want to email me a project you'd like worked on, I can present that to student teams, and then they decide what they want to take on, but it's there.
That's really good to know, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other final comments from folks on the line or any of our speakers? Questions? Okay, well, I want to thank every single one of you for being here. This has been a fantastic and really, really important conversation. So thank you for joining this discussion. Thank you to Laura and Marcus and Andrew and Calvin for your contributions today and for the work that you're doing every day in advancing technology access and creating technology solutions to make our world a better place. Thank you to Yolanda for her great questions and facilitation. And again, just Goodwill is thrilled to partner alongside communities, individuals, businesses, government, to really understand what can we all do? What can each one of us, can each one of our organizations do to increase access to technology and technology skills so that everybody does have that opportunity to learn, to work, to thrive in all aspects of their life. Technology is a critical ingredient of that. And if we can all work together to bring about that greater access to the tools and the skills, then we will see a real change in our community for the good. So thank you all very much. We will have a recording of this. If you've got any questions at all, follow-up information, etc., please do not hesitate to contact me or anyone here at the Goodwill team. All right, thanks all. Have a great afternoon.